Encouraging violence is wrong, and that's why I've called it out. Donald Trump as president, I believe, would be a disaster.
Right now on Justice.
We are heading in a very bad direction as a party, as a country, as a conservative movement.
Piling on the front runner.
Donald Trump has created a toxic environment.
Tonight I respond to Donald Trump's opponents who say he is to blame for rowdy protesters trampling on our First Amendment right to free speech. Plus, live analysis of what all this means with Super Tuesday 2 just days away.
It just makes all of our friends and supporters more angry. We're going to go to the polls on Tuesday, and we're going to be resounding victory.
Justice starts now. Breaking tonight, the polls for convention voters in Washington, D.C. have just closed as Donald Trump holds another rally marred by protesters, this time in Kansas City. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. And to my open, since when, if you state an opinion, are you responsible for someone else's reaction? Since when, if you verbally lean right, are you responsible for the left's physical reaction? Since when do you have the right to interrupt my First Amendment right to listen to a candidate for the highest office in the land? This is America, not the Soviet Union. This is America. You cannot prevent me from speaking or listening. You cannot censor speech. Free speech is guaranteed. It's why our founding fathers made it their very first amendment to the law of the land. It's what distinguishes us from communist countries and totalitarian regimes. It's why people risk their lives to come here. Your free speech, however, is not more important than mine. Your free speech, if it differs from mine, doesn't mean that you're right and I'm wrong, and therefore I must be silenced. But that is exactly what the left tried to do in Chicago last night, and again moments ago in Kansas City to more than 25,000 who came to hear Donald Trump. Some supporters, some undecided, some simply curious, others abject anarchists yelling, "Bernie, Bernie," and responding to activist calls at #ShutItDown. Now, MoveOn.org organized and reportedly paid protesters to disrupt the Trump event. One protester, Sanders supporter Tony Fitzpatrick, says he went to dissent to ask those in attendance to please reconsider. Really, Tony? Let's get this straight. Tens of thousands of people waiting in line for hours, stretching city blocks, and you take it upon yourself to have a discourse on the benefits of a leftist, socialist, almost communist candidate? And pray tell us, Tony, who were you going to pick to have this discourse with? Now, you have the right to protest. Of course you do. If you want to dissent, dissent. Consider a blog, a tweet. Hell, put a sign on your front lawn. How about you just vote for someone else? But in a civilized society, you do not have the right to interrupt or censor political speech. Let us listen and make our own decisions. But then again, Tony, it's Chicago, where kids playing in the park are so used to gunfire they don't even react, and where as many as 57 people can be shot in one weekend. I know. I lived there. And you want to blame the dust-up on Donald Trump, even when protesters come for the specific purpose of creating chaos? So someone sucker punches someone else and then rightfully arrested. That's supposed to be Trump's fault? A criminal law primer, folks. Words do not justify violence. You cannot defend assault by arguing verbal provocation. Otherwise, every man who battered a woman would say he was justified because she mouthed off. And anytime you get 25 to 30,000 people anywhere, unless it's to hear the Pope, there are going to be disagreements, especially in a highly charged election year like this one. And by the way, ever been to a baseball game? A heavy metal concert? People disagree. And little Marco, in his desperate attempt to criticize Trump, says,
these words have real consequences. Donald Trump has a big platform right now. He's the front runner in the Republican Party. Everybody's paying attention to what he's saying. And these words have consequences. When you're president, even more so.
Words have consequences? Well, maybe under Sharia law, where you can be murdered if you say something considered offensive, but not in the United States of America and not under our Constitution. And by the way, Marco, didn't you say your parents came from Cuba to avoid a repressive regime? Stop being so small, Marco. Americans have been angry for a long time. Barack Obama, the great hope and change unifier, has openly pitted the haves against the have-nots, the cops against the very public they defend. We've never been more divided. Religions being forced to act against their own religious principles. Republicans characterized as wanting dirty air and dirty water. Conservatives are blocked from speaking at universities. The left so dictatorial that they will stop at nothing to prevent free speech, even in the cradle of education. Black Lives Matter. Occupy Wall Street, determined to disrupt our free discourse so that they can control the narrative. Look, any course correction after 7 years of hazardous charting will be difficult and upending. The status quo, like the establishment, are petrified of Donald Trump, to the point that they are willing to take action the likes of which we have never seen in American politics. The desperation of these anarchists is nothing more than an effort to suppress the protected rights upon which our republic was founded. This is America. You cannot stop us, and you cannot silence us. Beware the sleeping giant, the silent majority of us. We will not be silenced. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter, hashtag Judge Jeanine. And just within the past hour, it happened again. Donald Trump spoke at a rally in Kansas City and was disrupted several times by protesters. Take a look.
So yesterday in Chicago, Yeah. Hello, darling. Go home to mom. Go home to mommy. Go home to mommy. Look at those cameras, the way they bend around. They'll do anything for a shot. That's why I love the protesters. The only way we find out how many people are in these places is through the protesters. So I love our protesters. And we don't want to hurt the protesters, please. We don't want to hurt the protesters.
Joining me now by phone, Donald Trump's son, Eric, an executive vice president at the Trump Organization. Good evening, Eric.
Judge, it's great being with you as always.
Thank you, Eric. It's been a crazy 24 hours. Your father last night made the decision to not continue with the event that was planned in Chicago. Why did he make that decision, and do you think he made the right decision?
Yeah, I really do. I really do. But, I find it incredibly sad, right? There's 20,000 people, 25,000 people at a rally that went and they wait in lines for hours and hours to hear my father speak. And, the passion at these events is incredible. And, they were really not able to see it, obviously, because a couple people wanted to go in there and start chanting Bernie. And, it's just very, very sad. I mean, it's sad for our First Amendment, freedom. It's just a very, very sad day for this country.
And, today in Ohio, Eric, I was frightened. You must have been frightened when that individual tried to rush the stage. Your father talked about it in Missouri a few minutes ago. Are you worried about your dad's safety?
Listen, you always have to worry. He's your father. You love him tremendously. He's a great man. The one thing I'll say about my father is he is an incredible person. He's doing this to make a difference in this country because this country is going in the wrong direction. That's why he's in it. He doesn't need to be in this race. He could certainly be doing other things. He wants to make a difference in this country. So when you see somebody trying to attack him, obviously, it worries you. And, there are a lot of crazy people out there. I mean, there are a tremendous amount of crazy people out there, and I'm just glad it didn't get farther than it did.
And you know, Eric, your father, I mean, he is gathering audiences, the likes of which we've never seen in American politics. But he is so vulnerable in the sense that he's right there in the open, you know, in the middle of everything. You're not worried?
Yeah. No, of course you're worried. I mean, of course you're worried. And, you know, I mean, he wants to be with people, and that's always how he's been as a person. I mean, he really likes to be around the people. And listen, I've stood by his side at 30 of these rallies, and the love in the room is incredible, and the love for America is incredible, and the passion for his message is really amazing. And it's just sad to see people kind of lash out. And I have to say, it says something about society. If I ever did that as a child, I would be killed by my parents. I mean, it said something about society that people will actively go into a room with the intent to disrupt and waste the time of thousands and thousands of people who are there for a message. And there's so many other ways to do this. And I think you said at the beginning of your show, but there's so many other ways to do it. But listen, my father's a fighter, and he'll fight on. And, you know, I was so proud of him today.
Well,
I mean, it didn't stop him from going to all these rallies, and it was really amazing. I mean, today was a great day.
What do you say to people who say that your father has incited this kind of reaction by people?
Oh, I think it's crazy. Every single day, you know, somebody's asking my father to disavow this, disavow that. You have hundreds of lunatics who go into a convention chanting Bernie, 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 and I didn't see one media outlet asking anybody to disavow, you know, Bernie. So obviously it's a one-sided argument. My father's doing great things for this nation. His heart's in this race. He wants to win. He'd be an incredible commander-in-chief. You know, and, you know, I really think he's going to go all the way. And
Eric, why do you think people are reacting like this? I mean, what is going on out there? And
it's simple, Judge. It's simple. He's going to win. I mean, he's going to win. The Democrats know that he can beat Bernie. The Democrats know that he will beat Hillary. You know, he's going to win, and this is their veiled attempt to try and stop him at this point.
And do you see more of this ramping up by MoveOn.org? And you know, Ayers was part of that as well. You know, the guy who participated in the bombing of, you know, New York City Police Department. And, you know, it's only going to ramp up.
Well, you know, and do I see it? You know, who knows? I don't know what to make of these people, right? They're definitely something wrong. I mean, anybody who would go in and waste people's time and be disruptive, I mean, they're certainly a different type of people. You don't see Trump protesters going into a Bernie Sanders rally and disrupting his crowd. So it's very sad. I don't know what to expect of these people anymore.
Eric, can you imagine if the Trump people went in and disrupted Bernie Sanders, how the reaction would be? You think it'd be a little different?
No, the media would crucify us. The media would crucify us, and quite frankly, you know, they're placing the blame on us for this. It's actually very, very sad. I mean, it's very, very sad. Somebody should ask Bernie to disavow the actions of these people. Not a single person's done that to this point.
Interesting. All right, Eric Trump, thanks so much for being with us.
Great being with you, Judge.
All right, take care.